Hey y'all, it's your fellow human being himself, Leo here. Just wanted to do a simple tutorial on how to use Rs5K as a loop machine. So if you're in a situation where you want to hold down a key and have the sample continuously loop, you can use Rs5K to do that. And I'm just going to show you how. Now, I have a project here called Bell Sounds Like Bell Sounds Like Rain.
Two-armed Rs5K 5000.
And I have an instance of Rs5K here, and it just has a hi-hat sample. And it's set to note semitone shifted, so I can just play it at different tones. I'm going to go into the effects window by hitting the letter F.
FX : track 2 Rs5K 5000 .
And the key commands I'm going to mention here are from the OSARA key map. More information is in the description below. But once you're in the effects window, we're going to hit Shift Tab until we find the loop checkbox.
Add button. Release, note, custom, detect, browse, import, mode : MB4, cache, resample mode, loop checkbox not checked.
There we go. Okay, so to enable this, we're going to hit $.
Checked.
And if you want to disable this at any time, you can also hit dash.
Not checked.
To disable it.
Checked.
Now, by default, if we enable loop, what's going to happen is we're going to create a continuous loop. It's not going to stop anytime we let go of the key.
All notes off.
And if you don't like that, key command that will definitely be helpful to you is F3. F3 basically sends a signal to all plugins within your Reaper project that basically tells them to shut up. It's called
send all -notes -off and all -sounds -off to all MIDI output /plug -ins.
Now, if you don't want to have your loop continuously loop, you need to find this checkbox right next door.
Obey note -off's checkbox not checked.
And you need to check this.
Checked.
Basically from here, when you press down on a key, it will stop once you let go of the key. So that is something to definitely look at as well. If you want more control, enable obey notes off.
Not checked.
I'm going to disable this just so we can talk about the other two parameters to look at.
Loop, crossfade loop length left paren, ms right paren, slider 0.00.
So crossfade loop length is measured in milliseconds, and crossfades are basically things that help merge or make a smoother transition between the end points and the beginning points of items. In this case, we're using it to be applied to our loop. So if we want to create a transition between the end of the loop and the beginning of the loop, we adjust this slider to basically create a smoother sound from the end of the loop to the beginning. So what that looks like in context, it looks something like this. So I'm going to turn off my NVDA.
Speech mode off.
And I'm going to hit play. So basically, like what you're hearing is at the higher the milliseconds, the closer the fade in and fade out points are to each other. So basically think of it as you have a, what is the fade here?
Speech mode talk. Crossfade 263.53.
Okay, 263.53 millisecond fade in and fade out. If you have a sample that's very small, then basically the fade in and fade outs were going to overlap. And it's going to cause the sound to make it sound like as if it's fading in and fading out very, very quickly.
0 All notes off.
So that is also something to definitely consider as well. Now the next thing we're going to look at is loop start offsets.
Loop, probability of
Actually,
hit. Probability, round dash remove, obey note dash, loop check, crossfade, 11 point.
let me remove this.
0.
Let me lower it all the way down.
Loop start offset left paren, ms right paren, slider 0.00.
Now loop start offset will adjust the beginning of the loop. So instead of it starting exactly at the beginning of where the sample is, it's going to cause the loop to begin at any point within the sample. So in context, it would sound something like this.
Speech mode off.
If I have this, that's crazy. Okay, so I learned something new here. And it's going to do with max voices that I'm going to touch on later. But basically, the higher the loop start offset is, the closer it is to the end. The closer it is going to start sounding like a synth, as you kind of heard. So that's mainly because if you have a smaller loop length, then it's just going to cause the loop to go by a lot quicker, therefore going higher in rate. The longer the loop, the lower the start offset value. The shorter the loop, the higher the offset value. And there's something to think about here. This is only going to affect after the first, when the loop starts to kick in. So it's not going to start when you press down the key. It's going to happen after the first time you hear the sample ends. So there you go. It's going to allow the sample to play out in its full glory the first time, and then it's just going to cause the loop to start after that point. Let me lower it down though.
Speech mode talk. Loop start up 109 0.
Let me go back down to 0. Now there is something else to talk about here, and that is I'm going to go into the parameters list, the OSARA's parameters list for this one final setting to adjust.
Cancel button. OK, cancel.
What?
Bell set 2 armed RE locking off.
Okay, there we go.
FX parameters : 08 dash high dash.
So now I'm in the parameters list for the hi-hat sample, and I'm going to go down to where it says max voices.
MIDI max voices left paren, 8 right per.
Okay, so in here, when you, let's say you, well, let me first explain what max voices is. Max voices is basically a slider that allows Rs5K, it tells Rs5K how many notes you want to play at any time. So if you only want one note to sound at any given time, you would have to adjust this to play one note.
2, 1.
I had it at 3.
All notes off.
So regardless of whether I'm hitting one note or 3 notes, it's only going to allow one of those notes to play. And it will be canceled out by another note whenever I hit the next one.
2.
Now if I hit 2, it's just going to cause 2 notes to play, and it will be canceled out by the next 2. Now, if you have loop enabled, but you don't have obey notes off enabled, here's what happens though. I have 2 notes playing, and if I press one of these higher notes up here, you start to notice that the last note that I press cancels out one of the previous notes. So therefore it leaves one playing, but the other one is now added on. So it is something to kind of think about. If you have a max voice of 3, then it will cancel out one of the previous notes being played while adding on the new one, and thereby allowing you to have different, I guess, opportunities to create different polyrhythms in this as well. And that's about it. I guess some final thoughts to round off that I didn't mention earlier is note semitone shifted is something that you're going to be using to change the tones of your sample, but it's also going to change the speed of your sample. So when you're playing around, as you kind of heard earlier, it's going to play the sample at different speeds when you hit different keys, and it's going to cause the loop to also play at different speeds as well. Have obey notes off enabled if you want to have more control of your notes, and if you just want to mess around with polyrhythms, have obey notes off disabled. And also, if you want to use the OSARA's parameters list, definitely check out the description below. There's a video going more in depth on how to use it and how to navigate it as well. Overall, keep safe, shalom, peace, and have a wonderful day.